This is Transit Unplugged. I'm your host, Paul Comfort. Thanks for being with us on another week where we bring you a great in-depth interview with one of the leading transit executives in America, Leslie Richards, General Manager of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, or SEPTA, runs the transit system in the Philadelphia area. We have a great 30-minute interview with her today, talking a lot about her career path, how she got to where she's at, how they have recovered from the pandemic, what their strategic plan is and their efforts to expand equity and inclusion in all that they do. And then we always like to end with a lightning round of fun questions about what books she's reading, music she's listening to, hobbies, pets. I think you'll really enjoy this in-depth interview with the leader of the nation's 6th largest transit system, SEPTA in Philadelphia, Leslie Richards.
What does it mean to be a successful public transit agency? What are you doing to lead the way? It's time to learn from the top transit professionals in North America. This is Transit Unplugged with your host, Paul Comfort.
Welcome to Transit Unplugged. I'm your host, Paul Comfort, and today we're excited to bring you another long-form interview with one of the nation's leading transit executives, Leslie Richards, General Manager of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, commonly known as SEPTA. She talks to me today from her office in downtown Philadelphia. Leslie, thanks so much for being with us today on the podcast.
Happy to be here, Paul.
Leslie has been, how long have you been on the job now there as CEO? Over a year, right?
A little over a year. Yeah. I started in January 2020.
What a year to be thrown into leading one of the nation's biggest transit systems.
Yes, I often get comments on my timing. The good news is I got to meet our senior team and get out to our facilities for almost a full 2 months before the world started to change. So at least I got to start there.
Tell us a little bit about your background and history. I know prior to this, you were Secretary of Transportation for the state, but if you don't mind, take us back all the way and show us how you got here and the path. I think, most of our listeners are in the transportation industry and most have aspirations to move up. And so they like seeing other career paths. So tell us about your career path, Leslie.
Sure. So I think like a lot of people who are in transportation, I fell into the transportation industry. Was always interested in working with communities. I was always fascinated by how they operated, what made some communities work better than others. Always interested in quality of life issues. And so as an undergrad, I studied urban studies and economics. I then went on to get a master's in regional planning, where I got very interested in environmental issues, particularly water and air issues. I worked for the EPA for a little while in their water division, as well as their air quality division. It was there that I got introduced to emissions and some of the air quality work related to transportation. I then worked for our city planning commission here in Philadelphia for a little bit, the Central Philadelphia Development Corporation. And then I left the workforce for 8 years. I was a stay-at-home mom. I have 3 children. And for 8 years, I actually worked very hard. I just didn't get paid very well when it comes to money. Got paid in other ways, but not when it comes to a salary. Then I re-entered the workforce, working part-time for a while. Worked for an environmental engineering firm, and it just so, as luck would have it, I interviewed with them, and they had just won the largest transportation project in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and that was the I-95 interchange turnpike connection. And that was the last remaining link of I-95 from Florida to Maine. And it happened to be in Ben Salem Township, Pennsylvania. And so we wanted to build that last interchange, very large project, over $2 billion project. And they needed someone to lead their public involvement and help with acquisition and right away acquisition, as well as property acquisition issues. And so I was happy to be back at work and jumped in. And it was really that project that showed me how much transportation can add to the economic development of a region, can hurt or help neighborhoods, can really impact people at their business levels, at their the communities they choose to raise their families in. really enjoyed those conversations, and then built up a public involvement department for them there, managed many other projects, worked for a civil engineering firm for a little bit. And at the same time, while I was home as a stay-at-home mom, I got involved with my community, and I helped with our first township day. I always say my first transportation project was running the pony rides at our township day, and I did pretty well, and just really enjoyed being part of the community that way.
You got bucked off the horse?
No, everyone was safe. Everyone was safe. All of the horse extras were cleaned up properly off of the baseball field that we used. So it was very successful. Lots of smiling young faces in my neighborhood. But from there, I was asked to join our Park and Rec board. I ended up chairing our board when we did our first master plan of all the parks, really looking at them as a network. Then I joined our planning commission. And then, to my surprise, was asked if I'd be interested in running for local office, our township supervisor position. And while I had always presented to the supervisors, I really had never had an interest in being on the board of supervisors. After going back and forth for a while, which is pretty typical, I decided to run. And at that time, there's 5 supervisors. At that time, 3 were running. We had the chance to make a majority. No surprise, since I served under a Democratic governor. I'm a Democrat, and I live in a majority Republican township. And we thought that if we could take all 3 seats, we would win the majority for the first time in our township in a very, very long time. So we knocked on a lot of doors. We spoke to our neighbors, and to our surprise, as well as the townships, we won all 3 seats. And so that was very exciting.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's nice to be in the majority. That's what I have to say. Yeah. And so we did a lot of interesting things with my background. We did a lot of stormwater projects, open space preservation, as well as economic development, obviously roads and bridges. And as we move forward, we needed to do some farmland preservation. And I went in front of the county board of commissioners, and I thought, wow, there's a job where you get to make all of these, important decisions that impact our quality of life. You get paid for it, and it's during the day, because the local elected stuff, I'm working part-time at the environmental engineering firm. I have the 3 young kids at home. My husband's been traveling a lot for his work, and, you fit it in where you can. And then I thought, well, this could be an interesting opportunity. So again, mimicking my township role, lived in a majority at the time Republican county. This would be the first time that we could take over the majority. So, my profile was interesting to the county party of what we had done and how we did it. And long story short, we won, and we were the first Democratic majority in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, in over 140 years. And so that was very exciting. What I did not know about politics was that that's kind of a big deal in Pennsylvania, the 3rd largest county, over 800,000 residents. And so when you do things, you get the attention that Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Montgomery County get. And so drew some attention. I got to go to the White House. I also was one of the few women in elected office at that time. In the area, and I met a man, a businessman in Central PA, Tom Wolf, at the time, and we started a relationship. He was very supportive of what we were doing. I let him know how we were consolidating departments, how we were moving forward, the things that we own, went back to our core mission of what a county should do, making difficult decisions. He runs for governor, and in looking to fill his support network and his cabinet in our conversations. Obviously thrilled that I got to be his Secretary of Transportation. I got to be the first female to fulfill that role as well. And so we got to move forward on a lot of diversity and inclusion initiatives, as well as making sure that we had a transportation system, for the 21st century, and move forward how we worked with our communities, and PennDOT Connects, and changed a few things there. So that was wonderful. I also got to be the first female chair of the Turnpike Commission here in Pennsylvania. And that's where I really got to know the chairman of the SEPTA board, who is a Pennsylvania Turnpike commissioner. We worked through a lot of very difficult issues, contentious issues at the Turnpike. financial difficult issues. And I'm always embarrassed to say I didn't see the opportunity, but back in April of 2019, after a board meeting, he asked if I'd be interested in coming back to my home, which is southeastern Pennsylvania, and leading the 6th largest transit agency in the country. And so we started to talk, and I realized the opportunities to work with our communities on the ground to really help particularly communities of color, disadvantaged neighborhoods, making sure that they had opportunities, making sure that we could get them to opportunities, to jobs, help their quality of life. It really seemed like a wonderful opportunity for me, one I was excited about, one that, my past experience would be really helpful. And like I said, I was just embarrassed I didn't see that opportunity ahead of me, but I'm glad that he did. And so here I am.
It's wonderful. What a great story.
Mm-hmm.
What a great career.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And you're at a system which is called a legacy system. A lot of people don't understand what that means. Tell us what that means to be at a legacy system.
We're old is what it means. we're very old. And as all of us get older, we realize, myself obviously included, we need a lot of TLC. Parts of some of our vehicles are from the 1940s. Parts of our system designed in the 20s. Before cars were even widely used, right? A lot of our rail systems, our trolleys, our subways, we're very fortunate. There are transit agencies out west right now that are spending billions of dollars to get a system that is a fraction of what we have here in the greater Philadelphia area, because it was part of how businesses developed and stuff for a very long time. Now, SEPTA is not that old. We purchased different pieces of systems. And so, the trolleys came from one system and some of our rail lines from another. And so it's been cobbled together to what is now SEPTA, the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority. And so legacy systems, we're restrained in many ways. Just that, we do need a lot of maintenance. We need to have a lot of state of good repair. And when we don't maintain them or have the funding and the resources to do that, you fall behind. And so again, we are very hopeful that some capital money will be flowing to transit agencies, as has been discussed right now with the administration. And boy, could we use that money. And even in a conversation with FTA, when they asked what would we do if certain amounts of money came through, even those at the FTA said, wow, you're really ready to spend it. And I said, we are ready. And, we have so many projects that are ready to go. And truly the only thing holding us back is the funding dollars. Our capital budget, which is also a big challenge for us, is half of what the other legacy systems have. And so every year we fall further behind. So Chicago and Boston, WMATA and DC, they all have capital budgets over $1 billion. And here we barely have $700 million that we have every year. And so it's tough to keep up with all of those state of good repair projects.
Tell us about the scope of what SEPTA, the modes you operate, budget, employees. Just kind of give us the inside baseball take on what is SEPTA.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And so we're very proud of all the modes that we do have here. And so, as you said, we are a multimodal legacy system. We were created by the PA State Legislature in 1964. That's when all of the different systems came together under SEPTA. As you mentioned, we are the 6th largest in the United States. Before the pandemic, we were carrying 1 million riders every day. And we have 2,800 vehicles, 9,500 employees, operating budget of $1.4 billion, and a capital budget right now of just under $700 million, around $675. We have trolleys, we have buses, we have subways, and we also have regional rail. We also have what we call trackless trolleys, so that they are electrified, so they have catenary connections above, but they are buses below. So we are one of the only systems that have that as well. And again, that's part of our legacy inheritance of how we were built. And just to remind the listeners, something that's interesting, I think, about our system is because our roadways were built, for horses and carriages, with Philadelphia being one of the older cities, our buses have to navigate some very tight and historic alignments, which make everything else extra challenging.
I was telling Kelly prior to you coming on that when I was at MTA, we were trying to work with SEPTA to close that last 20-mile gap of our commuter rail service. Of course, now commuter rail has been hurt the most out of all the transit modes. Tell us a little bit about that impact of COVID on your various modes. And as we record this at the end of April, what's the status of ridership and those kind of things?
Sure. Well, obviously, we were hit just like every transit agency in the U.S. I would say like every transit agency in the world, right? We didn't stop, just like every other transit agency. We saw how essential we were and how we were needed to allow people to function during this very, very difficult time. So obviously, lots of frontline workers who are coming in every day. And we saw our ridership go down tremendously. Some would say a downward spiral that just really felt it was obviously very shocking to all of us. I never thought that part of my job here would be to ask customers not to use us, but that's exactly what we were doing, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. And so we saw ridership decline 98% on our, regional rail lines. We saw it go as low as 90% on our buses, on our subways, on our trolleys at some point. They have come back. It's been incremental. So right now we hover around 35% on our transit, and those are our trolleys, our buses, our subways, and it's still starting to come up. I'd say it's getting closer to 40% of what it was before the pandemic. But our commuter rails, our regional rail, is still it's around 10%, 15% now, and again slowly, incrementally coming up. Our regional rail riders are our riders, for the most part, that have other options, that have the option to work from home, that have the option to have flex schedules. Maybe they only need to come in 1 day a week, where before they were coming in 5 days a week. Our transit riders are more transit dependent. Many people, a third of Philadelphians don't own cars. Often, I always say, and others say it as well, Philadelphia works because of SEPTA. We are very densely populated. The business area is very dense, and large employers count on us to get their employees into their offices. And so we're working very closely with the large employers with their return to office work to make sure that we're there to fully support their recovery as well as ours. And we're looking toward to what we need to be for the future. Just like every transit agency, we are asking ourselves every single thing that we do: is this still the way that we need to do it? Yeah. And do we need to do it? Because the world has changed.
So, what are the answers you're coming up with?
Yeah, so I am a planner. That's my background. I was the first planner to lead PennDOT, and I'm the first planner in a long time to lead SEPTA. And so when I came in, even before the pandemic, I knew that I wanted to do a full, far-reaching strategic plan here, just to get everybody, to ask everybody, why do they come into work every day? What is it that we should be working on together? And how do we all work together? All transit agencies, you have so many different jobs here, right? You have your frontline workers, you have your office and your management workers, you have all the different modes, and they can be very separate. And so I just wanted to make sure, again, that we were communicating in the best way that we could. So we went out and we started that strategic planning. We got hit by the pandemic, and it made it even more important for us to finish that process. So we asked all of our employees, we worked with our board, and we put forward a mission. And I think the timing could not have been better. So I felt very good that we had started that. And so we put forward our mission, and that is that, SEPTA moves the Southeastern Pennsylvania region forward by providing safe, reliable, and accessible mobility choices for everyone. really important for us that diversity and inclusion were built into that, not only internally for people who work here at SEPTA, but also for the communities we serve. And we have seen that, rise right now with all the civil unrest and everything that's going on. While it had always been going on, it's being spoken about, and it's in the forefront in a way that it has not before. And we're happy about that, and so we're utilizing that as well. And so then we also talked about, why are we here together, and what are we working on? And so we all decided also, that we support equity and we enhance quality of life by connecting people with opportunity, catalyzing the economy, and sustaining our environment. So we put that together. We got everybody on board, so we can all work together on those issues. And no matter what you do here at SEPTA, that's what we do together. Whether you're a mechanic, whether you work in our accounts payable, whether you operate one of our buses, we are all working together to help the economy, to sustain our environment, and obviously to connect people and provide them with opportunity. And so that's been really helpful in guiding us and reevaluating how we do business and what SEPTA needs to be for this economy, for the region's recovery, and for the people we serve moving forward.
And have you come up with any new approaches of your actual service delivery? In other words, some people are saying, well, the commuter rail isn't going to come back with the high AM and PM peaks anymore. Maybe we should try some night work or weekend and get people into the town for ball games and the nightlife or whatever. Yeah. Are you all looking to anything like that?
Absolutely. Another main theme that came out of the our strategic planning, which is called SEPTA Forward, is moving toward a lifestyle network service. And so that is moving away from the peak times. I don't think we're going to see the commuter peak times like we saw before, and it's going to be very flexible. And we want people to use our service throughout the day. And that's what we saw during the pandemic as well. I mean, the pandemic was very eye-opening for how people who need us use us. And, they need to pick up prescriptions. They need to take care of elderly relatives. They need to take care of their children. They need to run to the supermarket. They need to do errands, to get to their medical appointments. And these are throughout the day. These are not just from, 7:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the morning. And then again, from 4:30 to 6:30. And the accessibility issue, while very important for those with disabilities, but also important for those traveling with strollers, who have groceries, who have packages. I've pretty much stopped using my car on a regular basis, and it has made me rethink how I get around. I moved into Philadelphia during the pandemic. I didn't live that far away. I lived about 25 minutes away, but I moved from Montgomery County to Philadelphia. Obviously, I'm a SEPTA rider on a regular basis, but now I rethink, what is it that I need to carry with me? What do I need to bring with me? I mean, these are different ways that commuters, obviously, everyone using our system is already aware of it, but it's really important for me to remind myself that these are questions that we have, and then also giving more real-time information to our riders. And so now we're investing. While we were investing before, we were able to accelerate, getting APCs, passenger counters, in all of, in more of our vehicles. We had some of them, but not widespread throughout the system, so that we can give people real-time information on how crowded, all of a sudden now social distancing is an issue where it wasn't before. And so we want to make sure that we give everyone as many data points as we can, share with them all the information that we can, and so that they can make intelligent decisions on how they want to get to where they need to go, what the options are, what those options will cost. And we want to be their transportation of choice. I mean, we are a business here, right? And we need to win back riders, and we need to win back riders who have other choices. And so we still need to be the best transit agency that we can be.
That's great. Anything else you want to tell us about your future plans?
Just that we're real excited. I think it's allowing people what we call our SEPTA spirit, how we've always focused on results, but we also want to make sure that we're listening to our customers, to our employees, that we're being inclusive in everything that we do, that we find solutions together, and definitely to aim higher. I'm always saying to our employees, hey, let's get 1% better every single day. Change is incremental.
Yes.
And it is slow.
Yep.
But you all have to work together for it. And especially now where flex schedules are going to become a thing, a normal thing in the business community, we also have to compete to retain our employees. We want SEPTA to be one of the best, if not the best place to work here in the region. And so we really need to work on employee satisfaction as well, and make sure employees are part of it. So we're really excited of it. Of course, safety is always first in everything that we do, but it is a new way, and it is very people focused. I would say that's the main difference. Not good. That we weren't people focused before, but we're doing it in an intentional way that I know it feels different to me, and I hope it feels different to everyone who works and uses SEPTA as well.
That's great. All right. Before we end, I'd like to do like a little lightning round with our guest, and that is to ask you a little bit about yourself so people can get to know you. Like, what books you're listening to, what music, do you have any hobbies, what pets, those kind of things. So do you mind if I do a lightning round with you?
Go ahead. I'll do my best.
Okay. All right. So do you have any hobbies? What do you do outside of work?
I do. So I have just started golfing. I will say my last job at PennDOT and this one here at SEPTA has really killed any golf momentum that I had. But I am working on it. The pandemic has helped, and I've always loved hiking. I don't bike enough, but when I have that opportunity, I do that as well. I just love being outside. I would add kayaking with that as well when I get the opportunity.
Very good. Yeah. My wife and I picked up golfing a lot over the pandemic because it was like the only thing you could do during a lot of it.
I know. I love being outside. And the environmental engineering firm I worked for, they did some golf design work. And so
cool.
I'm not a really great golfer, but I can tell you all the wetlands mitigation and how we're doing with stormwater runoff as we go through a golf course.
That's great. And what music do you like to listen to? What type of music?
I have a variety of music. My kids introduced me to a lot. I'm a huge Eric Clapton fan. I would say he's been a favorite for a really long time. But look, I like Pink. I like a lot of the new women artists very much, and so open to a lot. I will admit I was exercising most recently to Lizzo. That was getting my heart going.
There you go.
But I love music. I love having a soundtrack. I always joke like, "What's my soundtrack today?" So
that's great.
It's fun. Music's a big part of my life. I'm looking forward to concerts again.
Me too. I know. Absolutely. And what about one of the best concerts I got? I don't know if you were a U2 fan, but I got to go to their Joshua Tree at the beginning of this podcast. Actually, it was my very first interview, and it was up in Rochester, New York, with the CEO there, who turned into a buddy of mine. And so I worked it out so I could go to the night before, go to the concert, and then interview him the next day in person. So that was fun.
Well, I was at the original Joshua Tree, U2, at the Worcester Centrum in 1988. And I remember that concert, one of my favorites. And I also went to the reunion tour.
Very good.
One of my favorite concerts of all life. I'll never forget. They kept the lights on the entire concert. They never dimmed the lights.
Wow.
And they opened up with "Stand By You," and it just, the energy was amazing. Yeah, one of the best concerts of my lifetime.
That's great. What about pets? Do you have any pets?
We do. We rescued a dog during the pandemic. Her name is Bodhi. She's a husky mix. We've always had dogs. Unfortunately, also during the pandemic, one of our dogs we had to put down. She had cancer. We had her for 14 years. Her name was Latka, and she was just wonderful. So all of our kids grow up and was a big part of our family, and big hole, when she passed. And we were very fortunate, and we got matched with Bodhi, who is amazing. In fact, she's only been with us a little over 2 months now, so we're still learning her personality. Very shy. She had a tough beginning. She was found in Mississippi, tied to a tree, abandoned and emaciated.
Oh man!
And so we're very happy to have her here, and she's a great dog.
That's great. Last one is any books in the last year that have really inspired you that you could share with us.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a book that we read as part of our open book series here at SEPTA, and that was Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. We actually had a discussion. It deals with a lot of complex, difficult racial equity issues and allowed us to talk about it in a safe environment. So it was really enjoyed that book. I'm rereading, I should say, A Prayer for the City, which is a book about Philadelphia a few mayoral administrations ago when Ed Rendell was mayor, where we dealt with a lot of issues we're dealing with right now, vulnerable population challenges, drug addiction, homelessness, as well as mental health issues, union issues, and how they were able to turn Philadelphia around. I thought at times I just needed to reconnect with that. And so reading that one as well right now.
Well, maybe that leads to a last kind of like philosophical question then. And that is, what do you think the future is for cities in America? There's been a lot of people leaving some of the big cities like New York during the pandemic. Do you see a resurgence of them? And if so, how soon? That kind of a thing.
I absolutely do. Look, I'm really optimistic. Of course, you're talking to someone who's very biased. I moved into Philadelphia during the pandemic. Not a lot of people would have done that. Not a lot of people did do that. But I love a city. And I am really heartened by all of the outdoor dining that I'm seeing, especially now as the weather's getting nicer. I've always enjoyed my travel when I've gone to Copenhagen, when I've gone to Melbourne, Australia, and you see outdoor dining all year round. You see obviously great mass transit also, and you see pedestrian travel, very safe, and people doing it in large ways. You see bicycle travel the same way, and then you see mass transit as well as vehicular travel. And I think if we look back and if we're honest of what we've learned on the pandemic, is that we can be more like these world-class cities that are always at the top rated. When you look at livable cities, what do people like? What do they like on their quality of life? People like walkability. People like to be able to access restaurants and food and culture and other things. And you do all that in a city. And so I am very optimistic of what our cities are going to look like. I think they will look different. I hope they're less vehicle centered. I truly do. I hope parking becomes less of an issue because people are willing to travel with other options. Obviously, lighten congestion, clear our air. But I do think cities will always have a great attraction, and I'm living proof of that.
There you go. Well, thank you, Leslie Richards, General Manager of the nation's 6th largest transit system, SEPTA in Philadelphia, for being our guest today. What an amazing career, and what a great vision you have to take this transit system to the next level and to the next step of its future development. We look forward to continuing to watch how you lead this agency into the future with equity and inclusion and the right mix of new service offerings that will help people come out of the pandemic with better mobility options to all of life's opportunities.
Absolutely. I look forward to catching up with you again and letting you know how we're doing.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Transit Unplugged, powered by Trapeze Group. To stay up to date, subscribe on iTunes or Google Play, or join the conversation at transitunplugged.com. Thanks for listening.